Hi, welcome to BODHI. My name's Alex Nashton, and today we're going to be moving through an hour-long beginner's foundational flow class. Joining me today with all 10 of his digits on his hands working is the one and only Christopher Yates, who's going to be demonstrating how to not take out your aggression on a yoga block for today's practice. For those of you that have been joining us live each week, Chris had a broken thumb. I made sure that you were very clear that he was dealing with that. And so now he's not. So he's going to be demonstrating everything today. You're going to need 2 blocks for today's practice. If you don't have blocks at home, don't worry about it. You use whatever you've got handy. I usually recommend 2 old shoe boxes or even old DVD sets if you've got those handy. Anything along those lines will work. We're also going to want to have for tonight a pillow of some sort, or maybe even just a blanket, because in this practice we do spend quite a bit of time with our hands bearing a little more weight than they normally do, our knees bearing a little more weight than they normally do. And for those of us that are unfamiliar with that kind of movement or that kind of weight distribution, it tends to get a little uncomfortable in the joints. So we use props to give ourselves a little extra cushioning for support. Are we ready, Chris? Okay. Yeah, it's good information, right? This is why you pay us the big bucks here at BODHI. Okay, so come to a comfortable seated position. We'll start with just a little bit of pranayama or a little bit of breath work. I usually start in supported virasana like this, with a block between my ankles and the tops of my feet down on the ground. But if you'd like to, you can sit with your ankles crossed in front of you, like Chris is demonstrating right here. And then you're going to let your hands relax down onto your thighs and close your eyes. And with your eyes closed, you'll just start to sit up a bit taller than you think you need to. Sit up a bit taller than you normally would. Let your shoulders relax down your back away from your ears. And give yourself space across the front of your chest so you widen the distance between your 2 collarbones. And with that, you'll begin to pay more attention to the way your breath comes in and the way your breath leaves your body. Now, many of us are used to breathing in and out through our mouth, and that tends to be a little more triggering for the sympathetic nervous system, or that fight or flight stress response. So instead, I'm going to ask that you pay very close attention to breathing in and out of just your nose for today's practice. That you're concentrating there. That you're balancing the length of each inhale to exhale. That you're doing your best to hold the intention of an even breath in and out of each nostril, because typically we'll favor one over the other. So with just your attention here, with your imagination, can you invite the breath evenly in and out? We know that practice of intention setting or visualization is very important in yoga or in meditation, because our brains don't actually know the difference between what is happening in physical reality and what is imagined. So we'll spend a little more time here working to balance the breath in and balance the breath out. And then you'll slowly release your chin down to your chest. Let the back of your neck lengthen. Bring the palms of your hands to the tops of your thighs and begin to shift just a little more weight back towards your sitting bones. Press the back of your heart towards the wall that's behind you. Chin comes in nice and close to the chest, so you're making a big rounding shape with your spine. You're curling the back body. And then as you breathe in, you're gonna pull your heart forward and up and work to find a big arch here. So now there's a little more weight forward towards your pubic bone. Maybe your chin lifts ever so slightly as well. You exhale and curl the chin into the chest. Belly button squeezes in towards the spine. You send the back of your heart towards the wall behind you. And then you inhale to bring yourself forward and up again. So each breath in lengthens the front body. Each breath out is gonna open up the back. Your inhale brings you forward in space. You lengthen and open the front body. Your exhale curls you back. You round and lengthen. We'll do that a few more times. Be sure that you're matching the pace of your breath to the pace of your movement. That you're still working to find this balance of inhale to exhale, exhale to inhale. And then next time you breathe in, you'll find a neutral spine, so you'll come to center and pause. And then you'll take just your chin down towards your chest, but your chest is gonna remain lifted up towards your chin here. And you're gonna start to kind of roll your right ear over towards your right shoulder, and then lift your chin up ever so slightly towards the sky. Left ear to left shoulder, and then chin down to the chest again. So you start to very gently warm up the neck. Making space on every side of the cervical spine. And then you circle the other way, so chin comes down to chest, and then left ear to left shoulder. Chin lifts up ever so slightly towards the sky, and then right ear to right shoulder, and you'll keep going with that. And know that if it's uncomfortable for you to tilt your head back to lift your chin up, you can skip that portion of the roll. So instead of going from left ear back, you're just gonna go left ear and then crown of your head straight up to the sky, over to the other side, and then down and around again. We'll take just 2 more breaths here. Last one. And then you'll make your way back to center. And now you'll slide yourself forward onto hands and knees. So eventually your wrists are gonna be underneath your shoulders. Your knees are gonna be underneath your hips. You can scoot your block out of the way, scoot your blankets, your bolsters out of the way for now. And then you'll take your wrists underneath your shoulders. Your knees are gonna be underneath your hips. So we're on all fours. And notice how this creates a flat back, a tabletop shape. We wanna make sure that the rib cage is not falling down towards the ground. So Chris, can you demonstrate that for me? Yeah, we don't want this to happen. So be sure that your bottom 2 ribs are squeezing in towards each other, and that you're using that squeeze in to almost lift up through the back of the rib cage just a little bit more. Yeah, nice. And now with this kind of activation, you're gonna curl your right toes under and straighten out the back of the right leg. Chris is gonna demonstrate that here for you now. Beautiful. And then really actively reach back through your right heel. So there's activation all along the right leg. You firm the right thigh to make space behind your knee. And now with that activation, you're gonna begin to lift your right leg up just as high as your right hip. Beautiful. Now, if this is already feeling a little tender, if this is already feeling a little sensitive for your left knee, I want you to grab your blanket and slide it underneath your left knee, or grab your pillow and slide it underneath the left knee. You use whatever cushioning you need to make sure that you are supported and comfortable in that standing leg. And now make sure that these right toes are flexed, which means all 5 toes of the right foot are pulling back towards the rest of your body, pulling back towards your hips. And now you're gonna push a little more weight onto your right hand and reach your left fingertips forward. Nice. Your belly button squeezes in towards the spine here. Remember, we're not letting the rib cage dump down towards the ground. Yeah, so not that. Then look ever so slightly forward. And now if this is feeling challenging, if this is feeling like a lot, I want you to just stay and hold this here. If at any point in time you need to drop the right toes down or the left hand down, you totally can. Otherwise, think about lifting up a little bit higher through your right heel and through your left hand. Take a big breath in. And then as you exhale, your right knee and your left elbow are gonna curl in towards each other and try to meet, try to tap in the middle. And then you inhale and extend everything out again. Good, you exhale and curl in, left elbow, right knee tap together. You inhale one last time to extend yourself outward. Exhale, curl everything in. Inhale, reach out and then pause. Left hand finds the ground again, and then right knee releases down as well. And now we'll take it over to the other side. So your left toes tuck under and your left leg extends back. You're reaching your left heel back behind you, activating your left thigh to make space behind your knee. And now be mindful of which direction your left toes are facing. We want them to be facing down towards the ground, but kind of trying to pull back towards the chin. Yeah, good. And we also want to be sure here that the hips are level, that you're not lifting your left hip up higher than the right hip like Chris is demonstrating here. So drop your left hip down, square the hips off, and now you can play around with putting a little more weight into your left hand and reaching your right fingertips forward. As you inhale, lift your right fingertips up, lift your left heel up. As you exhale, curl everything in. Try to round your spine. You inhale to extend out again. Exhale, right elbow and left knee curl into touch. One more time, you extend out. Breathe in. Exhale, curl together. And then you inhale to extend out. And now you're gonna pause. You're gonna release your right hand back down to the floor. You release your left knee back down as well. And now you're gonna walk your hands out a little further in front of your shoulders. You're gonna tuck both toes under now, or both feet under rather. And then look at your hands in front of you. And with your mind's eye, draw an imaginary line from your middle finger down to the center of each wrist. And then you'll parallel those two lines with the two side edges of the mat. So for some of you, that might mean that you need to turn your hands in a little bit. For some of you, it might mean that you need to turn your hands out. But that's gonna help you find your own anatomical neutral in the hands and in the upper body. So once you've got it, the toes are tucked under still, you're gonna push your hips up and back towards the sky. Yeah, very nice. And so I can see here that Chris's feet were very close towards each other. I'm gonna ask here that he separates them just enough that the feet can be inner hip distance apart. And if you need to measure that in your downward facing dog, you can swivel one heel in to the opposite big toe mound, and that'll kind of give you the right proportion, that'll kind of give you the right distance before you take your heel back out again and hide it behind the widest part of your foot. And now I know that you might be getting a little tired here. I know that your arms might be feeling a little shaky, but try to stay with it. And imagine here that you could turn your triceps in towards your ears. Kind of like you could spin the creases of your elbows to face forward, to face the top of the mat. And that's just gonna help you establish what we call an external rotation in the shoulders. Whenever we have the arms up overhead, we wanna keep the shoulders in this position just because they're a high traffic zone in the body and we wanna keep them safe. So take one more breath in here. And then with your exhale, you can go ahead and drop your knees down. You'll bring the tops of your feet to the ground. Big toes come into touch, and you draw your hips back in the direction of your heels. You're gonna let your upper body relax over your thighs. Your forehead comes down towards the ground. And maybe your arms reach out in front of you. Beautiful. So in this position, Chris has a pretty flexible back body. His hips are pretty flexible as well, which means that his hips are gonna come pretty close to his heels here. But that might not necessarily happen for you, and that's totally fine. If you're finding that it's really uncomfortable here, if it's really tender in the knees to be in this position, you're gonna wanna use either a rolled up blanket or your pillow once again in the crook of the knees. So wedging it in as much as you can, that'll help alleviate some of the tension in the knees. It'll also give you a little extra space. It'll buy you a little extra space to kind of enable the lower back to lengthen very slowly without too much pressure. Now we also want to be sure here that in child's pose, the forehead is supported by something, and that something might be a block, but it also might be the ground. It doesn't matter which one, just make sure that your forehead is pressing into something, because that will enable your shoulders, your upper back, the back of your neck to relax. And then you'll take a breath in here. You'll take a breath out. Another inhale. Another exhale. Last time, take a deep breath in, fill all the way up. And then you exhale and you let it go. And now you'll press down through the palms of your hands on the ground in front of you, and you'll slowly ease yourself up onto all fours. From all fours, you can slide those blocks out of the way. You'll slide that bolster, that blanket or pillow out of the way once again. And then we'll move back through a downward facing dog, but we'll use it as a very transitional down dog. So you'll tuck your toes under, lift your hips up and back. And then take a slow walk with your feet all the way up to meet your hands. And you can bend into your knees pretty generously as the feet approach the hands. Chris has very open hamstrings, so he doesn't necessarily need to bend his knees, but I'm gonna ask him to, just to demonstrate to you what will most likely be necessary in your own body today. Once again, we want the feet to be inner hip distance apart. If you need to measure that, you can swivel one heel into the opposite big toe mound, or optionally, you can take your two fists side by side between the highest part of each inner arch, and that'll typically give you the right proportion. That'll typically give you the right distance. Once you've got it, notice what your knees are doing. They have a tendency here, especially for women, to knock in towards each other. But see if instead you can keep your knees pulling apart further and further away so that the knees can stay directly over the ankles rather than caving in. Now, as you breathe in here, you're gonna walk your hands up to your shins and find a flat back. So you're finding that table position very similar to what we did on all fours. Note that Chris is kind of sticking his butt a little further back here, and we want to ideally have the butt over the ankles. So Chris, can you send a little more weight towards your toes? Good. And know that if your hamstrings are a little tight here, you can put a bend into your knees. And now I want you to think about drawing your shoulders down your back away from your ears. Good, and similar to that table position we took on all fours, make sure that your rib cage is not dumping down towards the ground again, but instead that you keep the bottom two ribs moving in towards each other. That you work to make space across the backs of the lungs. The crown of your head extends forward. You pull your spine long. And now as you exhale, straighten the backs of your legs as much as you can and let your upper body round and relax down. So let your upper body hang heavy like a rag doll. The only thing that we don't want to be super heavy here is the shoulders. So think about pulling your shoulders away from your ears and let the rest of your upper body relax. And now can you really fight your fight to straighten out the backs of the legs as much as you possibly can? Your toes stay relaxed, so the toes are not going white, gripping onto the mat. And now as you breathe in, you're gonna sweep your fingertips all the way around and up to the sky, so coming to stand all the way up. As you breathe out, the palms of your hands come to a prayer at the center of your chest. Shoulders relax down the back away from the ears. Once again, make sure your knees are not collapsing in towards each other, but that you keep pulling your knees as wide apart as your ankles. You inhale and sweep your fingertips around and up to the sky again. This time as you exhale, you'll swan dive yourself forward and down. So keeping the backs of the legs long for as long as you possibly can. And when you can't maintain the length in your spine anymore, you let your spine round, you let it relax. Maybe you put a bend into your knees as well. Now, as you next inhale, you're gonna find that halfway lift. You're gonna find that flat back again, so the spine pulls long. As you exhale, bend into your knees. Your hands are either gonna come all the way down to the ground, or you're gonna take them onto 2 blocks beside you and step the ball of your left foot way back behind you. Find that same activation in the back of your left leg that you did when you were on all fours, reaching the ball of that foot back. So your thigh stays active, there's space behind your knee. Your thigh is engaged, so keep it engaged. Beautiful. And now your right knee or front knee is at a 90-degree bend, which means your knee is on top of your ankle. Not further forward, not further back. So Chris, you're gonna need to walk your right foot a little further out in front of you, just to find that 90-degree bend. Good. And so from here, what I'm gonna invite you guys to do is just to use the mobility of your left ankle, of your back ankle, to shift your body forward and back, forward and back, forward and back. So again, it's just pushing off of the ball of your left foot and then reaching your left heel back behind you again. And that's just gonna help us warm up the front of the left thigh, to lengthen the front of the left thigh a little bit more here. Make sure that your upper body is not collapsing down towards the ground, but instead you keep your heart moving forward and up, Chris, and that your shoulders are moving away from your ears. Good. And then you'll pause once again with your knee stacked directly on top of your ankle. You can set your blocks aside, take your hands down to the ground, and then step your right foot back to meet your left foot. So we're coming into a plank pose. Now, if this just ain't happening today, you are more than welcome to drop your knees down onto the ground. We're not gonna be here for very long, so I don't recommend that you put a bolster underneath them. But wherever you've landed, you're gonna squeeze your belly button in towards your spine. Try to find a little more length. Heart moves forward, your heels are reaching back, and now you're gonna shift your shoulders forward past your wrists. So you're coming high onto your tiptoes. You'll bend your elbows straight back and lower all the way down onto your belly. Now, many of us here tend to let our elbows kind of wing out towards the sides as we lower down and push back up, but for today, I'm asking that you guys try to keep them in nice and close. So elbows squeezed by the rib cage. And now the tops of your feet come down to the ground, so the shoelace part of your foot is down. Every single toenail is pressing onto the ground beneath you. You breathe in and you're gonna lift your head, your neck, and your chest up off of the ground. Pause. Lengthen the back of your neck just as much as the front. And then with your exhale, you'll press down through your hands, you press down through the tops of your feet, coming up onto all fours. From here, you'll tuck your toes under, press your hips up and back, Adho Mukha Svanasana, which is the Sanskrit for downward facing dog. Now you're gonna breathe in and look forward. You'll breathe out and step your left foot up between your hands. If it doesn't make it on its own, you can use your left hand to grab onto your left ankle, to grab onto your left thigh, and coax it forward. And now you'll grab your blocks again if you use blocks. Otherwise, it's fine to keep your fingertips on the ground. You're just gonna start to very gently shift your body weight forward and back, and forward and back, and forward and back. So you're warming up the front of the right thigh just a little bit more. Remember, the rest of your spine is long, and there's a little more of a lift forward in the front of your chest. Very nice. Until eventually you'll pause with your left knee on top of your left ankle. Your right leg is still straight. Look forward, and then step your right foot up next to your left foot. Immediately bring your hands to your shins and find a flat back here. As you exhale, let your back body round and relax down. The backs of the legs lengthen as much as they possibly can. You'll inhale and sweep your fingertips all the way around and up to the sky. Stand all the way up again. You exhale and bring the palms of your hands to touch at the center of your chest. We'll do that one more time, one more sun salutation. So you'll inhale and reach the arms around and up. You'll exhale and dive yourself forward and down. Backs of the legs lengthen for as long as they possibly can. Inhale, hands to your shins, you lift halfway. Exhale, bend your knees, plant your hands or take them onto blocks and step your right foot back behind you this time. Inhale, bring your left foot back to meet your right foot. You can set your blocks aside. Knees either stay lifted or you drop them down. Either way, shoulders slide forward past your wrists. You bend your elbows straight back, lower all the way down onto your belly. And then tops of your feet find the ground. You inhale and lift your head, neck, and chest. Exhale, push down through the tops of your feet, push down through your hands, come up onto all fours. Exhale, toes tuck under, you lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Take a breath in here. A breath out. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, step your right foot up between your hands. You can help it up if you need to. Inhale your left foot up to meet it. Immediately bring your hands to your shins. Work to find that flat back. And then you exhale and let your upper body relax again. Thighs are engaged, so keep your thighs firm. Breathe in, sweep your fingertips all the way around and up to the sky. Come to stand all the way up. And then exhale, palms of your hands touch at the center of your chest. Okay, we're gonna pause here for a second. You're gonna take your hands to your hips. And with your hands on your hips, you're gonna find one single point on the wall in front of you to gaze at. Keep your eyes locked in there. Shift your weight onto your right foot and then float your left foot up so your left knee is kind of coming up towards your chest. Good. Your eyes stay focused on that point in front of you, and then you're gonna very slowly, very carefully step the ball of your left foot way back behind you. As you do, you'll bend into your right knee enough that it comes to that 90-degree bend again, so your knee is on top of your ankle. Now notice, is there any crunching, is there any compression in your lower back? If your lower back is talking to you at all, if it's at least a little bit uncomfortable, I want you to put a bend into this back knee. And with that bend, try to lengthen your tailbone down towards the ground. It's like someone was tied a little weight to your tailbone and was pulling it down. And now if balance is feeling pretty stable here, if you think you've kind of got the hang of it, you can play around with reaching your arms straight up to the sky. And remember what we talked about just a moment ago in that downward facing dog. Whenever the arms are up overhead, we want to find external rotation in the shoulders, which means the pinky sides of the arms are turning in towards the ears, the thumb sides are revolving out. Take a breath in here. A breath out. Another inhale. Another exhale. One more breath in. And now with your exhale, you can drop your hands down to the ground. You can either keep your left hand where it is, or you can optionally take your left hand up onto a block. You're gonna reach your right fingertips up to the sky. Now, if you find yourself getting a little fatigued here, if you're getting a little tired, you are more than welcome to drop this left knee down to the ground. Yes. Exactly. Now, many of us tend to let the left shoulder kind of creep up towards the ear here when we're twisting, but I'm going to encourage you to try to pull your left shoulder down your back away from your ear. Use the pressure of your left hand down on that block or down on the ground beneath you to lift up and out of your left shoulder. And be mindful, be wary of what's happening in your legs here. Many of us tend to let the right knee kind of fall to the right as we twist. So make sure the big toe mound of that right foot stays anchored down and that your inner thigh is squeezing towards the midline rather than winging out. Take one more breath in here. And then exhale your right hand down. Lift your left knee up if it was lowered. And now left foot steps forward to meet the right foot. You immediately bring your hands to your shins, find a flat back. Exhale, upper body relaxes down again. You fold forward. Do your best to straighten out the backs of your legs. And then inhale, reach your arms around and up. Exhale, palms of your hands come to that prayer in the center of your chest. You're gonna bring your hands to your hips again. Find that one single point to gaze at in front of you. And as you do, you'll shift your weight onto your left foot this time. Squeeze your right thigh up towards your chest. So right foot hovers up off of the ground. Do your best to stay balanced. And while your eyes stay focused on that one single point in front of you, you're gonna slowly start to kick your right heel back, bending into your left knee, bending into your front knee, and then stepping the ball of the right foot way back behind you. Once you feel yourself stable here, you first pay attention to what's going on in your lower back. If you're crunching into the lower back, if you look like Chris does right now, I want you to put a bend into your right knee. Again, you imagine that there was a weight pulling your tailbone down, giving you a little more length in your spine. And then try to lift up higher through the crown of your head, and maybe you work to reach your fingertips up to the sky. And if you'd like to, you can very dramatically sweep them around and up like Chris always does. He likes when I make fun of him here. Okay, we're gonna take another breath in here. And then you'll exhale and release your hands down. Once again, you are more than welcome to grab a block underneath your right hand. That usually gives us a little bit of extra height so that we can open up and find space in the body. And then left fingertips reach upward. Once again, if you'd like to drop your back knee down, if that helps you feel a little more stable, you're more than welcome to. Just make sure that your left thigh is not kind of winging out to the left, but that you keep the big toe mound of the left foot anchored down. Beautiful. And that rather than jutting your right shoulder up by your ear, you keep your right shoulder blade sliding down your back body here. Nice. That you're pushing into your right hand to lift up and out of the right shoulder. One more breath in. And then exhale, release your left hand down. This time you can slide both blocks out of your way. You're gonna step your left knee back to meet your right knee on the ground. From there, shoulders shift forward past your wrists. You bend your elbows straight back, lower all the way down onto your belly. And let's find one more baby cobra here before we release down into the bellies again. So tops of the feet pressed down, thighs are engaged. You inhale to lift the head, neck, and chest up. You exhale to lay yourself back down. So from here, you're just gonna go ahead and flip over onto your back body. You don't have to do it like that. Chris is just a little extra sometimes. Go ahead and bend into both of your knees. I don't even know what to say right now. Bring the soles of your feet to the ground. And then make sure that your feet aren't all the way together, but that they're inner hip distance apart. Once again, that's kind of the theme for today. Once you're sure they're inner hip distance apart, do be sure that your ankles are beneath your knees. And if you need to kind of get a better measure of what exactly that's going to be like, if you take your two arms directly down by the sides of your body, your middle fingers will just barely graze the tip of your heels. Yes, exactly. Good. Chris, you've got it. Okay, from here, palms of your hands press down on the floor beside you. You're gonna press your upper arms down as well. Again, think about shoulders moving down your back away from your ears so you're not squeezing them all upward. And now press down through your hands, press down through the soles of your feet, and try to lift your hips up to the sky. Good. As you work to lift your hips up, I want you to think about lengthening your tailbone towards the space between your knees. Beautiful. And now many of us here in bridge pose have a tendency to let our knees fall away from each other. But once again, I want you to think about anchoring the big toe mounds of your feet down, squeezing the inner thighs towards each other. You fight your fight to keep them in close. Take one more breath in here. And then exhale, lower your hips back down. Bring your right knee into your chest. Reach your left heel straight out in front of you. Good, and we're just gonna find a really lazy twist here to release the spine after all of that movement. So you're gonna take your right knee in your left hand and draw it across your body. Your right fingertips are gonna reach out to the right. If you don't have space to totally extend them, you can find almost a half goalpost or a cactus shape there, or maybe even just let your arms relax up overhead. Note that if it's very uncomfortable for you to just have your right knee hanging out there in space, you can do what Chris is doing, which is finding something for support, be it a block or a pillow, to cushion the right leg so it's not so intense on the hips. To revolve into the twist here. He's nodding his head in agreement right now. I don't know if you guys can see that through the internet. Okay, we're gonna take a few more breaths here. And then you'll slowly start to unwind yourself, come back to center. This time, left thigh comes into your chest, right heel extends forward. You're gonna draw your left knee across your body for a twist. So left knee in the right hand this time, pulling across the body. Your left fingertips extend out to the left, or find that half cactus or goalpost shape. Again, you're more than welcome to use something for support underneath the left leg if it's helpful. And we're gonna breathe here, because the alternative would be passing out from holding the breath in, and that's a liability for us here at BODHI, so please keep breathing. Close your eyes, both of them. We'll take 3 more breaths in and out. And then you can slowly unwind yourself once again. Bring both knees straight into your chest. Give them a little squeeze just to lengthen out the back body, just to give yourself some space. And then in your own time, you'll extend your legs out in front of you. If you have any tenderness in your lower back, I'm gonna invite you to slide a bolster or slide a pillow underneath your knees, just because that enables the lower back to relax. And then the palms of your hands are gonna either face it beside you, or you can bring one hand to your belly and one hand to your chest. We call this final pose in Sanskrit Shavasana. And it's our opportunity to fully and deeply relax, to let go of any lingering traces of effort, and to give ourselves permission to enjoy the entire process of our practice. The openness, the work, the flexibility, the freedom that it provides us. Let your breathing become easier, less forced. Use less effort. Notice its natural ebb and flow. And finally, you'll take a really intentional deep breath in. You'll sigh and let it out. Begin to wiggle your fingers and toes, waking your body back up again. In your own time, you'll squeeze both knees into your chest, and then you'll roll over onto whichever side you'd like. Press down through one hand at a time and bring yourself up to sit. Bring the palms of your hands to touch at the center of your chest. Release your chin down. And thank yourself for taking the time to practice today. Thank yourself for being so damn funny, Christopher Yates. I have no idea what he's laughing about. Namaste, everyone.